Hello there and welcome. Welcome to this gentle journey through time, through silence and through imagination. You are listening to Silent Footsteps, and tonight we will wander slowly into one of the greatest mysteries ever shaped in stone. As you settle in, perhaps lying back, perhaps already closing your eyes, allow the world outside to grow quiet. Feel the calm of this moment wrapping softly around you. Notice the texture of your surroundings, the gentle rhythm of your breath, and the stillness that surrounds you. Let your thoughts drift lightly, like sand carried across a desert by a soft wind. And now, let us turn our attention to tonight's question. What if the pyramids of Egypt were not built just thousands of years ago, but long, long before, even before the Ice Age? It may sound impossible at first. History tells us that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 4,500 years ago, during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, a marvel of ancient engineering standing against wind and sand for millennia. Yet whispers have always lingered. What if these mighty stones were far older? What if they belonged to an age lost in deep time, an age when the earth itself looks different, when ice sheets covered continents, and when civilizations, perhaps, rose and fell before memory began? And as you imagine this, I wonder, where are you listening from tonight? And if you glance at the clock, what time is it where you are? Perhaps it is late when the world outside sleeps, or perhaps early, when only a few stir awake. Across oceans and continents, others may be listening as well, sharing this quiet journey with you at this very same hour. As you listen, let your breathing slow. Imagine the sands of the desert stretching endlessly under a sky filled with stars. Imagine the pyramids standing not as tourist sites crowded with cameras, but as silent guardians in an empty, frozen world. No Nile River flowing, no cities buzzing, only stone and silence, and the question of how long have they truly stood? What if the story is older than we have ever dared to believe? Perhaps these structures were markers, not only of kings, but of time itself. Perhaps they were already ancient when history began, and perhaps deep beneath the sands and stones, secrets still sleep, secrets of a world that came before us. For now, simply let the thought rest in your mind like a gentle echo. What if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? This is not a question to answer quickly. Tonight we will take it slowly, step by step, through calm reflections, through the quiet of deserts, through the science of geology, and the whispers of forgotten history. So relax, breathe, and let the quiet hum of time surround you. The pyramids are waiting, and together we will wander into their mystery. The night is quiet. Somewhere far away the world still moves. Cars on the road, voices in the distance, lights flickering in windows. But here, in this gentle space of listening, the noise of life begins to fade. You are left with only stillness and the slow rhythm of words. Close your eyes for a moment, if you wish. Imagine the desert, endless and silent, where the air is dry and cool after sunset. You take a step, and the soft crunch of sand meets your ears. Another step, and the horizon seems unchanged. Above you, the stars stretch in countless numbers, steady and unblinking. For thousands of years, people have looked up at this very same sky, wondering, dreaming, and asking questions that have no easy answers. And there, in the distance, three great shapes rise against the night. Triangles of stone sharp against the horizon, darker than the darkness around them. They do not move, they do not speak, they simply stand, silent, patient, watching. The pyramids have always had this effect. Whether seen in the bright light of day or imagined in the stillness of night, they remind us of something vast, something beyond one lifetime, beyond one generation, beyond even one civilization. They whisper that time is deeper than we can hold in our hands. Now imagine this. You approach the largest of them, the Great Pyramid. Its base stretches wider than a city block. Its stones are taller than you, each one cut, lifted, and set in place thousands of years ago. Or perhaps, much longer ago than we think. The air grows cooler as you walk closer, shadows wrapping around you. You place your hand on the rough stone, and you feel the coolness of the night locked in the rock. And then, in your mind, let the scene shift. The desert around you fades, and time begins to move backward. Slowly at first, then faster. Cities vanish, temples crumble, dynasties dissolve. The Nile shrinks, changes its course, then disappears. Sandstorms rise and then are gone. The earth grows colder until great sheets of ice press down over continents. And yet, the pyramids still stand, alone, silent. Their peaks rise above a frozen land where no human voice is heard. Could this be? Could these stones have witnessed a world before our recorded memory? Could they have stood when glaciers covered the north, when seas were lower, when entire continents looked different? It is only a thought, a soft question, not an answer, not a claim. But as you breathe, as you imagine, let yourself feel the wonder. Time is not a straight line we can always measure. Sometimes it is a circle, sometimes a mystery, and perhaps the pyramids are part of that mystery. The desert wind sighs, carrying grains of sand across the stones. You listen, and it almost feels like a voice, old and patient, reminding you that everything we see is but a moment in a much longer story. What if the pyramids are not only monuments to kings, but monuments to time itself? Perhaps, just perhaps, they are markers left for us by people long forgotten, people who lived before the cold ages, before memory, before history as we know it began. As you hold this thought, notice your own breath again. Slow, steady, calm. Just as the pyramids are steady against the shifting sands, so your breath anchors you here now, in this quiet space of listening. And so we set the mood. Not with noise, not with answers, but with silence, with imagination, with the gentle possibility that the past is larger than the stories we have been told. The night continues, the stars remain above, and the pyramids, whether 4,500 years old or 45,000 years or more, still wait for us to listen. The story of the pyramids, as history tells it, begins about 4,500 years ago. Most scholars point to the Old Kingdom of Egypt to the time of Pharaoh Khufu, whose reign is said to have overseen the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This vast structure, nearly 50 metres high when first completed, was built from more than 2 million blocks of stone, each weighing several tons. Even today, with all our machines and cranes, the task seems nearly impossible. Yet somehow in the deserts of ancient Egypt, workers and engineers lifted these blocks into place, shaping a monument that has endured through time. That is the story carved into textbooks, taught in classrooms, and accepted by most archaeologists. But every great mystery has its shadows, and around the pyramids the shadows run deep. For one, the exact methods used to build them remain uncertain. Ramps, pulleys, manpower. Each theory answers some questions but leaves others behind. Then there is the precision of the design. The Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly with the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, with an accuracy that is astonishing even today. How, without advanced tools, was this possible? And then comes the heart of our question. Could the pyramids, or at least the knowledge behind them, have come from a time much earlier than Khufu, a time that stretches far back, perhaps even before the last ice age? To begin unfolding this, let us think about what the ice age really was. About 20,000 years ago, vast parts of the Earth were covered in ice sheets more than a mile thick. These glaciers stretched across North America, Europe, and Asia. Sea levels were much lower than today. Entire coastlines that we know now were dry land then, and rivers flowed differently. It was a world shaped by cold, silence, and survival. Most historians say that during this time, humanity lived only in small groups, hunters and gatherers moving with the seasons. The idea of great stone monuments seems out of place in such a world, and yet discoveries in recent decades suggest that our ancestors were far more capable than once thought. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, dating back at least 11,000 years, reveal that large stone temples existed long before writing, farming, or cities as we know them. If such structures could be built in one place, might it be possible in others? The pyramids of Giza, in comparison, would dwarf Göbekli Tepe, but perhaps they are not as disconnected as we think. Perhaps they hint at a hidden chapter of human history, an age when knowledge was shared, lost, and rediscovered. It is worth remembering that civilizations rise and fall. The Mesopotamians, the Indus Valley culture, the Mayans, all built cities, temples, and systems that later vanished into ruins. Even the mighty Roman Empire, once thought unshakable, collapsed, leaving behind only stone and memory. Our traditions and history remind us that nothing lasts forever except the Creator. So when we look at the pyramids, we should remember this truth. They are not eternal. They too are vulnerable to time, erosion, and the shifting earth. But their survival so far makes us wonder, did they witness more than just the Old Kingdom? Could they have seen the turning of ages we barely understand? Geology adds more questions. The Sphinx lying near the pyramids shows signs of erosion that some scholars argue could only have been caused by heavy rainfall. Egypt today is dry and has been for thousands of years, but before 10,000 years ago, the climate was different. Rains fell, rivers carved the land. If the Sphinx shows weathering from that age, what does it mean? Was it built earlier than we think? And if so, could the pyramids themselves also have roots in a forgotten past? Only, we see how the puzzle grows. The official story places the pyramids in one timeline, but evidence, small, uncertain, debated, whispers of something older, something hidden. And so, as we listen, as we imagine, we hold the thought gently. Perhaps the pyramids are not just monuments of Egypt's old kingdom, but markers of something far deeper. Perhaps they stand as silent witnesses to a time long before, a time when ice-covered continents, when seas lay lower, when humanity was already building in ways we no longer understand. This does not mean we must accept the idea fully. It may not be true, but it invites us to wonder, and in that wonder we find humility, because the past is larger than we are. And the truth is, we do not know it all. And so the pyramids wait, still, unmoving, holding their secrets as the world turns. We have set the stage. We have walked across the sands in our imagination. We have looked at the stars, we have considered the history written in books, and we have listened to the whispers of geology and forgotten rains. Now comes the question at the heart of tonight's journey. What if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? Pause for a moment and let that question settle. Not as a fact, not as a claim, but as a doorway into wonder. The pyramids, standing tall in the desert, are older than most of human history as we know it. But what if they are not merely thousands of years old? What if they are tens of thousands of years old? Imagine for a moment that these stones were already ancient before the first pharaoh was born. Imagine that dynasties rose and fell not once but many times, while the pyramids stood quietly unchanging. It may not be true, the evidence may not be enough to prove it, but asking the question stretches our imagination, and that in itself is valuable. Think about time. 4,000 years feels enormous to us, yet in the scale of Earth's history it is only a blink. Ice ages come and go, rivers shift their courses, mountains rise and erode. In the silence of deep time, what is a few thousand years more or less? Could it be that what we think of as ancient is only recent compared to the true age of some mysteries? The pyramids make us ask. Their size, their alignment, their endurance. These are not easy things to explain away. If they belong to an age before the Ice Age, then who built them? How? Why? Here is where imagination takes gentle flight. Perhaps long before the civilizations we know, there were people who understood the earth in ways we do not. Not in fantasy, not in myths of gods or legends of giants, but simply human beings, with knowledge, with tools, with determination. Perhaps their traces were washed away when the seas rose at the end of the Ice Age. Perhaps their cities lie now beneath oceans or buried beneath layers of sand and soil. And so we return to the big question again and again. What if the pyramids were not only Egyptian monuments, but markers left from a deeper, older story of humanity? It may not be so. The evidence is debated. Many scholars dismiss the idea as impossible. But just thinking about it awakens in us a sense of wonder. A sense that our world is larger than our understanding, that our past is not fully written, that mysteries remain waiting for us in the quiet places of the earth. Perhaps, just perhaps, the pyramids are not only symbols of ancient Egypt, but symbols of the questions we all carry. Questions about time, about memory, about what endures and what is forgotten. And so gently we hold this thought. Not to prove it, not to argue it, but simply to wonder, what if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? The desert is still. The night sky above the pyramids glows with countless stars, and time seems to pause. You stand in silence, gazing up at the Great Pyramid, and the question lingers once more in your mind. What if these stones were placed here not 4,000 years ago, but 40,000? The thought feels almost too large to hold, and yet it invites you in. Step closer. Let your imagination drift. Imagine yourself walking backward through history. Each step you take pulls you further away from the present. The bustling city of Cairo vanishes behind you. The voices of tourists fade until there is only the quiet whisper of sand. The pyramids remain in front of you, unchanging. You step backward past the medieval era, when travellers first wrote of these wonders with awe, past the Roman Empire, which gazed at the pyramids and called them ancient even then, past the time of the pharaohs whose names we know, Ramses, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun. Still the pyramids stand, and you step further back. The sands shift. The Nile bends and flows in a different course. Rain falls across the land, green fields spread where desert lies today. You walk further and the air grows colder. Great ice sheets advance across faraway lands. Mammoths roam the plains. Seas are lower. Continents are reshaped. And there, through all of it, the pyramids stand, silent, enduring, watching. Could there have been a city here before the Ice Age? Not the kind we imagine today with skyscrapers and glass towers, but a city of stone and earth. A city built with knowledge that we do not yet understand. The people of that age might have lived differently, closer to the rhythms of nature. They might have built their monuments not as tombs, but as markers of the sky, of the earth, of the stars. Perhaps they measured the turning of the heavens, the tilt of the planet, the cycle of time itself. And when the ice melted, when seas rose more than 100 meters, when lands were drowned and rivers shifted, perhaps their world was washed away. The pyramids, rooted deep in stone, may have been the few survivors. If so, what did they mean? Were they warnings, guides, a map left for us to find? Close your eyes and imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid. Place your hand against the stone. Feel the grooves carved by time, the coolness held in the rock. Now imagine that instead of sand stretching around you, there is green land, forests and rivers. Birds call in the distance, the air is fresh with the scent of rain. The pyramid still stands, but the world around it is alive with growth. This could have been Egypt before the desert, before the long droughts that shaped its history. If the Sphinx shows signs of water erosion, as some scientists argue, then perhaps this was once real. The pyramids may have seen a world we cannot imagine, a fertile land, not a barren desert. What stories would those stones tell if they could speak? Another mystery lies in the design itself. The Great Pyramid is not simply large, it is precise. Its base is nearly a perfect square, aligned almost perfectly with true north. Its height relates to the circumference of the Earth in proportions so exact that some call it a coincidence and others call it intention. Could people long before the Ice Age have understood the Earth in ways we are only rediscovering? Could they have measured the stars with their eyes, tracked the solstices, and built in harmony with the heavens? If so, then the pyramids are not merely tombs. They are messages written in stone, messages that speak in the language of mathematics, geometry, and sky. And then, what if they are even older than that? Imagine the pyramids not as creations of one forgotten civilization, but as structures built and rebuilt over ages. Perhaps the base is ancient, older than memory, and later dynasties simply added to them, reshaping and claiming them. This is not impossible. Throughout history, rulers have taken monuments from the past and made them their own. Temples in Mesopotamia were built layer upon layer. The Kaaba in Mecca was rebuilt across generations. Perhaps the pyramids are the same, structures rooted in a time we do not know, reshaped by those who came after. If so, then the question is not only when they were built, but who began them and why. Some believe there may still be chambers hidden within the pyramids, rooms unexplored, secrets untouched. Ground scans in recent years suggest voids deep inside, though what they hold remains unknown. Could they contain records, artifacts, or signs of a much older world? Or are they empty, holding only silence? And beneath the sands around the pyramids, could there be more still buried? Temples, cities, tools from a forgotten age? If civilizations before the Ice Age existed, their traces might lie beneath layers of earth and time, waiting for us to discover. All of this may be only imagination. The mainstream story places the pyramids firmly in the time of Khufu, and perhaps that is true. Yet holding open the question, we allow ourselves to feel something deeper, the wonder of not knowing. The pyramids remind us that we are small in the face of history, that our knowledge is incomplete, that time stretches far beyond the reach of our memory. Perhaps the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age. Perhaps not. But to ask the question is to see them not just as stones, but as symbols. symbols of time, of endurance, of the mysteries that remain hidden in the world. So tonight, as you listen, let your thoughts wander. Picture the pyramids standing not only in deserts but in green lands, in frozen lands, in times long before our own. Imagine them as guardians of memory, silent witnesses to ages forgotten. And each time the question returns, what if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? Let it settle like a soft echo, guiding you deeper into calm, into curiosity, into rest. When we think of the pyramids as older than the Ice Age, we are not only asking about Egypt, we are asking about the story of humanity itself. We are asking whether the rise and fall of civilizations is far more ancient, far more complex than the history we usually imagine. Throughout history, great societies have risen, flourished and fallen. Mesopotamia, often called the cradle of civilization, once filled its valleys with temples and ziggurats. Today, much of it lies in ruins. The Indus Valley culture built vast cities with organized streets, wells and drainage systems more than 4,000 years ago. Yet its script is still undeciphered, its people gone. The Maya carved cities from the forests of Central America, with pyramids of their own. Their temples now stand silent, wrapped in vines, their voices lost. Each of these civilizations thought they would last. Each poured their knowledge, their power, their hope into stone. And yet, in time, they vanished, leaving only fragments for us to piece together. The pyramids of Egypt, if they are older than we think, might fit into this pattern. They could be a reminder that civilizations are fragile, and that the earth erases much of what comes before. When we look into deep time, stretching back tens of thousands of years, we find silence. Written history only covers a fraction of human existence. Archaeology fills in some pieces, but beyond a certain point the record grows thin. Most of what humans did, felt, built or dreamed before 10,000 years ago has been erased by water, wind and time. And yet, now and then, fragments surface. Göbekli Tepe in Turkey shocked the world by showing that people more than 11,000 years ago could build massive stone temples, aligning them with the stars, with no evidence of cities or farms nearby. This single discovery forced scholars to rethink what was possible. If one site can change our view so deeply, might others still lie hidden beneath sand, seas, or jungles? If pyramids in Egypt are truly older than we think, they too would change the story of humanity. Archaeology and geology remind us to be cautious. Evidence must be tested, measured, and placed in context. Many scholars argue strongly that the pyramids belong to Egypt's Old Kingdom, and that the idea of them being Ice Age monuments stretches too far. But science also thrives on curiosity. Every great discovery began with a question, sometimes dismissed at first, sometimes ridiculed, until new evidence gave it weight. The question of the pyramid's age may remain uncertain, yet by asking we train ourselves to look more closely, to measure erosion, to scan beneath stone, to explore coastlines swallowed by the sea. Even if the pyramids themselves are not older, perhaps other sites are. Perhaps our curiosity will one day lead us to uncover an ancient city hidden for tens of thousands of years. Our traditions remind us that civilizations, no matter how mighty, do not last forever. The Quran speaks of nations that thought themselves secure, yet time and divine decree erased them. So travel through the land and see what was the end of those before you. The pyramids, whether built 4,000 years ago or 40,000, carry this lesson in their silence. They whisper, all things pass. Stone remains, but even stone erodes. If a civilization before the Ice Age once built them, where are those people now? Gone, their knowledge forgotten, their voices silent. This reflection humbles us. No matter how tall our towers, how advanced our tools, one day we too will fade. And perhaps, far in the future, only fragments of our world will remain. Yet there is another side to this. The pyramids also connect us. Whether they were built by the Egyptians we know or by people long before, they are part of the same human story. They remind us that across time, across ages, humans have always looked upward, always dreamed, always built. Stonehenge in England, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the temples of Angkor, the pyramids of the Maya, all rise from the earth with a common theme, a desire to mark time, to connect heaven and earth, to leave a trace. The pyramids of Giza are perhaps the greatest symbol of this desire. If they are older than we believe, then they show us that this longing has lived in humanity since the beginning. If they are not, then they remain proof of what humans can achieve even with simple tools and determination. Either way, they remind us that the story of humanity is one story woven across continents and ages. So as when we widen our view, the question is no longer only about when the pyramids were built. It is about what they represent. They represent the mystery of time, the fragility of civilizations, the strength of human will, and the humility of knowing we do not have all the answers. Perhaps the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age. Perhaps they were not. But in either case, they call us to reflect, to wonder, to remember that we walk in the footsteps of countless generations, many forgotten, some remembered, all part of the same vast story. And in that story, the pyramids stand, silent, unchanging, enduring. The question has carried us far tonight. We have walked through deserts, imagined lost cities, traced patterns in stone and wondered about civilizations erased by time. We have widened our view to see the rise and fall of cultures across the earth. And now we return inward to reflect. The pyramids remind us that time is vast. 4,000 years, 40,000 years, both are small beside the age of the earth itself. Mountains rise, oceans shift, stars are born and die. Against this backdrop, we are brief travellers, our lives only moments in the quiet river of time. And yet, even in our short lives, we share in something greater. We ask questions, we imagine, we build, just as those before us built. The pyramids are not only stones in the desert, they are mirrors of our own longing to leave a trace, to reach beyond ourselves. When we ask, what if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? We are also asking, what endures? What matters? What remains when we are gone? Civilizations have always thought themselves strong. Ancient empires with armies and palaces once believed they would last forever. Yet today, they are ruins, names in books, echoes in the wind. The pyramids whisper the same truth to us. Even the greatest powers fade. This reflection humbles us. We are not as permanent as we imagine. Our towers, our machines, our cities, one day they too may fall silent. And perhaps, thousands of years from now, people will walk among our ruins, wondering who we were, what we dreamed, how we lived. Our traditions remind us that nothing lasts forever except the Creator. All else passes. To see the pyramids is to remember this. Time erases, but remembrance of truth, of faith, of knowledge remains. Yet there is beauty in this fragility. We are connected to those who came before. We walk the same earth, under the same stars, breathing the same air. The builders of the pyramids, whether they lived 4,000 or 40,000 years ago, were not so different from us. They had hopes, fears, families, dreams. They too looked at the stars and wondered. To reflect on this is to feel less alone. Across ages, humanity is one. We are linked not only by blood, but by imagination. There is also peace in not knowing. Not every question needs an answer. Sometimes it is enough to ask, to hold the mystery gently. The pyramids remind us of this. We may never know for certain how old they truly are, or what secrets they hold, but that's all right. The mystery itself calms us, humbles us, inspires us. Perhaps the pyramids are teachers, reminding us that knowledge has limits, and that beyond those limits lies wonder. As you listen, let this thought rest softly in your mind. Time is short, yet filled with meaning. We rise, we fall, we build, we dream. The pyramids are one chapter in the story of humanity, a story still being written. What do we take from them? A reminder of humility, a reminder of endurance, a reminder that even in silence, even in mystery, beauty endures. So tonight, as you drift toward rest, remember, you are part of this vast story. Your life, brief as it is, shares in the same wonder. You're connected to the past, to the present, to the future. The pyramids stand in silence. You too stand in this moment of silence. Both are reminders that time is deep and that curiosity is a gift. Perhaps the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age. Perhaps not. But the lesson they give us is the same. Everything passes except what is eternal. And in that truth we find peace. And so we come to the end of tonight's journey. We have wandered through deserts in our imagination, stood beneath the stars, and asked the question again and again, what if the pyramids were built long before the Ice Age? Perhaps they were. Perhaps they were not. But tonight, the answer matters less than the journey itself. The gentle drifting of thought, the quiet stretching of imagination, the calm reminder that time is vast and that we are small within it. As you rest now, think of the pyramids one last time. Standing in silence, shaped in stone, they have waited through ages. They will continue to wait as the sands shift and the stars wheel overhead. Their patience is a lesson. There is no need to rush. Time moves at its own pace. You too can rest with that patience. You too can breathe slowly, letting each moment arrive and pass, like sand carried softly by the wind. Thank you for spending this time here, in quiet reflection, in gentle wonder. It has been a gift to walk with you through the mysteries of the past, and to share in the silence of imagination. If you have found comfort in this journey, and wish to return to more stories that soften the night, you are always welcome to subscribe to Silent Footsteps. No rush, no pressure, just an invitation to continue wandering gently through time, discovery and calm. More mysteries await, more stories to guide your thoughts into quiet reflection, more questions to drift softly across your mind. Every time you return, these gentle journeys will be here, ready to meet you. Until next time, may your nights be calm, your dreams gentle, and may your thoughts wander softly across the mysteries of time and creation. Good night.